You're listening to Cosmic Cousins Soul-Centered Astrology. I am your host, Jeff Henshaw. Thanks for tuning in. Cosmic Cousins is released on each new and full moon and at the start of each astrological season. The intention for this podcast is to connect us to deeper learning, embodied health, self-discovery, all through the lens of your astrology practice. Thank you so much for being here and tuning in. Hey, Cosmic Cousins. Welcome back to another week of the show. This is Jeff Henshaw, and this is the Libra New Moon podcast episode. On this episode, we'll dive deep into the invitation of this new moon. We'll also touch base about the Mercury Retrograde, Mars Cazimi, and also Pluto stationing direct as it heads towards the first Pluto return for the United States. So these are some of the themes, and you might feel in them that, Libra as a sign of balance and ruled by Venus is a sign connected to beauty and nature, and particularly through the words, the thoughts, the air element. This is a little bit different of a Libra new moon than we might feel because of these other astrological transits happening. Mercury retrograde, Mars hanging out with the sun, Pluto stationing direct. So it is maybe a little bit spicier of a Libra new moon, but it doesn't mean that we don't have the opportunity to really deepen our connection to Libra as an astrological sign. And so for those of you that are newer to astrology, the new moon happens once a month, and it's when the sun and the moon line up in the sky. And so the new moon will always be in the same astrological sign as the sun season that we're in. And so right now, yes, the sun is in Libra. It's Libra season, which is end of September and through the first 2/3 of October. If you're on the northern hemisphere, this is the autumn time of year. It initiates autumn. If you're on the southern hemisphere, it initiates spring. And so initiation is cardinal. Libra is a cardinal air sign, which means on a practical level, the four cardinal directions, they represent pivotal moments, turning moments in the year. And that's exactly where we are at, particularly when the sun and the moon line up in Libra. We are crossing a threshold into the yin side of the wheel, or the darker half of the wheel. So yes, Libra new moon blessings to you. The lower back is the part of the body that Libra is connected to, and the kidneys. So you can pay particular awareness to these sacred parts of your body. There's a lot of wisdom here at the lower back. And so I'm placing my hands here. I like to practice child's pose for Libra, which is you get on your shins, you widen the knees, and then you lay your belly on the ground. And this is a nice restorative posture that we can partake in here on the Libra new moon. The phrases I have for us, I'll always offer 3 phrases for the new and the full moon. The phrases I have here are: I pause, I balance, I recalibrate. I pause, I balance, I recalibrate. And so you can write these phrases down. I sometimes will say them to myself as a mantra, kind of like with a rhythm or a beat, like if I go on a walk, to just keep my mind from wandering, to keep the anxiety at bay. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because that feels particularly resonant right now, having a Mercury retrograde in Libra, which we'll get into in a moment. So I pause, I balance, I recalibrate. I pause, I balance, I recalibrate. So you can say it to yourself in that sort of way, or you can elaborate on them. Mercury retrograde time periods are always great for opening up the journal, dusting it off and going deeper into yourself, reconnecting with yourself, slowing down the outward communication and coming more inward. And so perhaps you could reflect on these and elaborate. How are you pausing at this time? And how are you balancing? How are you recalibrating? So Libra is the gatekeeper between the past and the future. Libra is standing presently in this moment, and you can use justice in the tarot as a representation of Libra. This is Libra's soul growth. So the new moon, when the sun and the moon come into this sign of being present in this moment, being on that threshold between the past and the future, it is a time period to come back to yourself, to find rest at your center. So this Libra new moon, it marks this pivotal turning point in the year. It always does. And you might sense that on the Libra new moons. So pause and honor your willingness to show up each day, bring it back to the present. And even if just for this moment, even if just for this Libra new moon, how might you let go of the mental dramas from the past? And just fully accept them and let them go. And even if just for today, this moment, this Libra new moon, how might you release whatever doubt or fears you have around the path to come? You know, Libra is this sign that is connected to truth. So take a deep breath in. Breathe into something that you know to be true. And then as you exhale, release the mental chatter that comes along with that. You know, half-truths is what I like to call them. And so a half-truth can be something that is true, but it's half-true because it isn't the full truth of who you are. And a way to tell if something is a half-truth is it can be something that might be true in your present reality, but if it's not true for everyone, then this is a half-truth. So some examples of this might be, you might say to yourself, oh my gosh, that person didn't text me back last night. Are they mad at me? Or I don't have enough money to purchase that or to do this thing that I desire. So these might be a reality. Maybe that person didn't text you back last night. Maybe you don't have enough money. But when what you are stating is not a universal truth or something that is true for everyone, this is a half-truth. And so this Libra new moon, it does offer a time to let go of the half-truths, to release them. The Libra new moon is a time to reconnect with the power of a higher truth, a higher perspective, sacred truths. And sacred truths are universal. So find sacred truths that really resonate with your heart and your soul on this Libra new moon. Some examples: love is ever prevailing and abundant. You might say that to yourself. This is a sacred truth. This is true for everyone. Love is abundant. And as you breathe that into your body, maybe you breathe it into your heart, maybe you breathe it into your head or your lower back, just notice what resistance you might have to it, and notice what, mental chatter or half-truths want to come up to kind of dispute that. Libra can be a energy of debating, the head and the heart, debating it out. But we connect to these higher universal truths, and we can feel this with the sword that we see on the Justice card in the tarot. So love is abundant. Some other sacred truths: Mother Earth is our home. This is true for everyone on this planet. I live in peace with myself, so I may live in peace with others. This is a really great one to connect with, since Libra is a sign connected to partnership and collaboration and relationship. But this is a sacred truth. I live in peace with myself, so I may live in peace with others. These are just some of many. You can come up with your own, and I'd be so curious to learn what some of your sacred truths might be. Libra, it has the sword, but it also has the scales. And it is the keeper of balance and truth, and is fiercely standing by them. So tuning into this archetype during the Libra new moon is really helpful. It can help you cut through the bullshit, you might call it. So Libra reminds us to drop our mental anxiety and to come back to the presence of truth. But this might be a bit tricky right now because of all of the other configurations going on right now. So we have Mercury Retrograde. So this Libra New Moon is in the heart of Mercury Retrograde. And so this retrograde spans from September 26th through October 18th. And during this period of time, communication and decision-making may be up for review, especially in regards to any Libran themes in your life. This can be balance within yourself, one-on-one relationships and partnerships. It can even be connected to the larger themes of Libra, which would be social justice, any legal matters. And you can look to your own chart to see where Libra lives, to see how you might be working through this decision-making process of Libra Mercury Retrograde. So right now, Mars is currently conjunct the Sun in Libra. And this is called the Mars Cazimi, is right when Mars will line up with the Sun in the sky. And so the Cazimi is kind of like a new moon time period for Mars. And it happens once every 2 years. And so the exact date for the Mars Cazimi is the day after the new moon, October 7th. So really this new moon is hanging out with Mars. It's the moon, sun, and Mars all in Libra within a degree of each other. And so again, Cazimi, it translates as in the heart. And so what it means is in the heart of the sun. And so whenever any planet lines up with the sun, it's called a Cazimi. And on that date, it acts as similar to the energy of a new moon where we reset. And it takes 2 years because it takes Mars 2 years to go around the sun. So you can think back to the autumn of 2019. And that's the last time we had a Mars Cazimi. And so this initiates a new 2-year cycle around Mars's theme, which is the way that we take action in the world. It can be anything connected to your desires or sexuality, or the ways that you are putting yourself forward. It's a very physical planet, but the Cazimi, it can feel exasperated. And so right now, as we are experiencing this Libra new moon, there's also a Martian feel to it. So there could be irritation, irritability, kind of this need to take action. But since we're also in Mercury retrograde, the invitation is not to take action. So there is sort of this time period where things might be feeling exasperated or urgent. And a slower, more mindful approach to our overall daily life is highly encouraged at this time, as anxiety and mental chatter may be high. Mercury retrograde, Mars Cazimi. So it really is a time to lean into the Libra traits of coming back into balance with the self before making any mercurial decisions or taking any Mars-like actions. So how might it feel to simply be with whatever is arising at this time without acting upon it? How might it feel to simply be with whatever is arising without acting upon it? And so when I was pulling some tarot cards for myself yesterday, and I pulled the Hermit and then the Tower. The Tower is Mars. And so when I looked at these two meditations, it made me come to this moment of what would it be like for me to go on a walk or to meditate with all of the angst, anger, anxiety, urgency that I'm feeling. And what came through was a lot of opportunity to sit with grief. So, which takes us into our next part, which is Pluto stationing direct. So breathe into whatever is coming up for you right now. Honor whatever it is. Remember that we are going in with the sword here from a really balanced, aligned place as we explore Pluto, because Pluto is the planet of the underworld. And this is appropriate right now because this particular Libra new moon looks to Venus. Libra is ruled by Venus, which is currently in Scorpio. And Scorpio is connected to the underworld, and its ruling planet, its modern ruling planet, is Pluto. And so it's also part of this Libra New Moon that today, same day, Wednesday, October 6th, Pluto stations direct. So when an outer planet stations direct, we feel it in the weeks before and after, as the planet appears to be stationary in the sky. And so Pluto, since it is so far out, it has such a wide orbit, Pluto is at the 24th degree of Capricorn all of October, just sitting in the sky. And particularly this week, Pluto is stationary at the 24th degree of Capricorn. And so you can think of since we're talking about the underworld here, you can think of a large submarine that's changing directions. And that doesn't just happen overnight. So Pluto is stationing, when it stations direct, is slow and cumbersome. So this may feel like a deep churning below the surface. You can feel this in your own life. You might feel it collectively as old psychological debris begins to shift directions. So for those of you who are more sensitive souls, which a lot of you tuning into this are, if you're quite empathic, you might have stronger feelings of despair, grief, obsession, compulsion, heartache might surface at this time. Know that Pluto is a collective energy. It's judgment in the tarot, if you'd like to have a visual representation. But in the judgment card, it's people waking up from their graves collectively to heal. So, for those of you that are more sensitive, you might be feeling Pluto stationing direct at this time. For those who are more highly attuned to Pluto, this could be, astrologers are working with Plutonian energy, therapists, occult practitioners, psychologists, individuals who hold powerful roles in society are connected to Pluto as well. And so there might be some sort of new undercurrents of forward movement that are emerging from the depth. Secrets can be revealed around these themes. Shadows can be revealed. And again, it doesn't happen overnight, since Pluto takes such a long time to move, but it is a forward movement. And it's taking us through the rest of Libra season and into Scorpio season. So what I think is really important about Pluto stationing direct is the United States Pluto return. So Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, and so this has represented a time period of deep transformation, death, and rebirth, which is Pluto, taking place in our society, government, leadership, and patriarchal structures, which is Capricorn. So death and rebirth to the patriarchy. That's essentially Pluto in Capricorn in a nutshell. But Pluto is in its final degrees of Capricorn. It's right now at the 24th degree of Capricorn. So we're in the third decan. And this brings us closer towards the culmination of its lessons in this sign. So this particular forward motion of Pluto stationing direct this week during the Libra New Moon feels very significant this time around, because Pluto is heading in for the first hit of 3 of the United States Pluto return. So what is the Pluto return? If we look at the United States Sibley birth chart, which is using July 4th, 1776 as the birth chart date of the United States has Pluto in Capricorn at the 27th degree and 33 minutes. So I know this is a lot of detail, so if you ever want to look along to this, you can sign up for the newsletter, and you'll receive this in your inbox on the new and the full moon when a new podcast episode is released. You can also go to cosmiccousins.com to look along too. But yeah, in the United States Sibley chart, the United States has Pluto in Capricorn at the 27th degree. And so this is the nation's first Pluto return, as Pluto takes roughly 248 years to go around the sun. So it's a young nation. The Pluto return for a nation is said to be a time period of retribution. Pluto return is a time of paying off karmic debt. As humans, we don't experience a Pluto return because we don't live 248 years, but a nation will experience that. And so it's a time when shadows and secrets are exposed. It's a time where psychological healing comes to the forefront. So from a wider perspective, the U.S. has been on its underworld journey of its first Pluto return since the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that took place in January of 2020 at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. But however, the U.S. is now approaching the exact Pluto return point. And so I have and it's the first of three, so I have the 3 exact Pluto return dates for you to ponder. And so the first Pluto return point where Pluto in the sky will line up with the Pluto in the United States birth chart is February 21st, 2022. The next day is February 22nd. So 22222 is that first Pluto return date, but the exact date is actually the day before on February 21st. The second hit of the Pluto return will be in retrograde motion, and this is on July 12th of 2022. And the third hit of the Pluto return is December 28th, 2022. So these aren't dates to necessarily be afraid of. We've already been in the Pluto return, and you've been feeling it, particularly with the pandemic. But it is just important to know that these are moments to be aware of. And so since Pluto's orbit is wide, the Pluto return time period is from about 2020 to 2024. Pluto will be an orb of the natal Pluto in the United States birth chart. So this 4 to 5 year time period, we're in a big death rebirth as a nation if you're in the United States. If you're not, you can just observe it from afar and just see how you might be sensing into these themes too. But during this time period, we all benefit by being gentle with ourselves and each other as we move through a collective death rebirth. So look towards the 27th degree of Capricorn to see how the US's Pluto return may be affecting you on a deeper level. For more insight into how you may be called to help others in the collective during this transformational time period, you can look to Pluto in your own natal birth chart. So I can share mine as an example that might help. So I have Pluto in Scorpio. I'm part of the Pluto and Scorpio generation. Pluto is a generational planet. And Pluto in Scorpio is in my 9th house. So processing grief, transforming grief through psychological awareness. This is Pluto in Scorpio. 9th house as a teacher, as someone who is connected to philosophy and the world at large. So I am making use of that as an astrologer. If we don't have an outlet for our Pluto, it can manifest in obsession, compulsion, addiction, and even if we do have an outlet for it, we still have the themes to work with. So know that there's always the shadow and the light to these planets that we're working with. So in its shadow, yes, Pluto is control, and its light, Pluto is transformation into the light. So yes, this will all continue to be a theme for us as we prepare for Scorpio season, because Pluto is the ruling planet for Scorpio. And as we move into 2022, it's a Plutonian year. And so if you'd like support and vocabulary around these themes, I do have openings for deep dive astrology readings available for the end of October and through December. It would be an honor to connect with you in that way. I would like to share that in my own life, I just moved. I just moved apartments this past week. I haven't even been in my new place longer than a week. And so it might even sound a little echoey in the room that I'm in because it's not fully furnished. I'm experiencing the Libra New Moon as an opportunity to recalibrate and rebalance after moving apartments this past week. And I am focusing on some of the Venusian qualities of Libra by, giving myself permission to slow down, hanging art up on the walls. But also with Pluto stationing direct, a lot has unearthed within me. You might be feeling that. And so I do think just moving apartments has that quality to it. But I am noting that this is happening at the same time Pluto stationing direct. And so as I left my old apartment, I had a tremendous amount of grief arise from the surface. And so I bowed to all that apartment provided for me. You know, it cradled me during the uncertainty of protest and the forest fires. It held me during sleepless nights from being in a new city during a pandemic. And it's been a hard year and a half, both individually and collectively. And as a sensitive soul, I have been grieving a lot. And I do believe I'm coming out of this stronger. And I just want to share this with you, as I hope this is a reminder that you are not alone in whatever deep feelings that you are feeling. You know, at times you may look out in the world around you and see people going about their day to day, maybe continuing on their life like everything is normal. But there is a lot of grief surfacing up right now, particularly for those of you who are empathic. And so again, you're not alone. I'm sending you a lot of love on this Libra New Moon as Pluto stations direct. And so I'll share with you, as I moved into this new home, there's a tradition that whenever someone new moves in, they're invited to pick a color to paint the door. And so I went with lilac. So the house is yellow, and so I picked this lilac color. And this color to me, it symbolizes hope, faith, and healing in the face of opposition. And, you know, Libra offers this to us as a counterbalance. You know, it's the polar sign to Aries, which is the sign of the warrior. Libra is bringing art and beauty and color, you know, picking a color for a door, lilac, for healing in the face of opposition. So lilac reminds me to express my queerness. Lilac is here to help me with new beginnings and to learn to trust again. So if you'd like to read more about my moving experience, I did post a more in-depth story on Instagram. You can go check out my most recent post. And I think this is allowing us to feel into some of the invitations that the Libra New Moon might offer us. So since we're in Mercury Retrograde, and since we're connecting to this Libra New Moon, it is an opportunity for us to drop out of the mind. You know, Mercury is the mind, but we're retrograde. So how might we lean into the more Venusian qualities of Libra by dropping out of the head and into the heart? So if you're able, on this Libra New Moon and for the rest of Mercury Retrograde, which takes us through almost to the end of Libra season, if you're able, take a break from media and information. Connect with music and art. You know, go on a walk with supportive affirmations so that you connect to your higher truths. Observe the beauty of the changing of the seasons. And notice what urgency wants to arise, and then can you breathe into it and say, no, I'm going to go on a walk and observe the beauty of nature. And as you do that, remember Libra's an air sign, so deepen your connection to your breath. Also, we can connect to the other elements too. Draw yourself a bath. Connect to the earth. You know, nature is here as an ally to remind us to slow down. So during this Libra Mercury retrograde, invite a more mindful approach so that new aligned ideas for rebalancing your life may emerge. And as we're here in this Libra New Moon, we're releasing half-truths to reconnect with the power of uniting truth. Some of the uniting truths we have: love is ever prevailing and abundant. Mother Earth is our home. I live in peace with myself so I may live in peace with others. So we breathe all that in. And Libra reminds us to drop the mental anxiety and to come back to the presence of truth. And when we do, the path ahead may clear so that we can step forward from a place of alignment, from a place of balance, peace, and empowerment. And so it's my hopes that on this Libra New Moon, you may find rest at the midpoint of your own sacred center. if you'd like to deepen your studies on this Libra New Moon, I am intentionally releasing a new workshop download on the Asteroid Pallas, and that's Pallas Athene, who is the asteroid of feminine wisdom, or what I like to call intuitive insight. So there's going to be a 3-hour workshop download on Pallas that walks you through ritual, altar building, tarot, and Pallas through each of the 12 astrological signs. And so this is, again, it's called Pallas, the piercing power of intuitive insight. And Pallas is the asteroid connected to ageless wisdom. And when you look at the glyph, the symbol associated with Pallas is the diamond spear, and I like to say that it's used to pierce through the veil of illusion. So Pallas's many themes speak deeply to practical insight, strategic planning, pattern recognition, psychological healing, restorative justice, prudent restraint, compassionate communication, and economic prosperity. Because Pallas's story connects us to the intellectual understanding of cycles, Pallas is the asteroid most associated with astrology and astrologers. And in my own practice, I like to refer to Pallas as the divine counselor in our chart. And I use the Queen of Swords to meditate on its archetypal energy. So in this workshop download, we're going to connect with Pallas in your own birth chart to offer you deeper vocabulary on these themes in your life and how you're being called to tap into your intuitive wisdom to serve others. Again, this workshop is being released on the Libra New Moon, October 6th. So you'll receive it in your mailbox on that day in the evening, or if you want to purchase it at another date, you can always go to my website to find it. It's such an honor for me to be here with you always in this way. I hope that this podcast offers you support and that it gives you a moment to touch base back in with yourself on these new and full moons. So if you appreciate this podcast, please leave some reviews, and I'll see you next time. Take sweet care, cousins, and remember, deep breaths.